Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Life Show. I'm your host, Ian Hartitz. It is a great day to be great. It's a great day to get a little feisty in here. That's right. It's projection war season here on the Fantasy Life Show. We got Matthew Freedman. We got Dwain McFarland in the house, pair of Texans who I am going to try my best to get screaming and hollering at each other throughout this show. So, boys, welcome. Mr. Dwain, hair looks good as always, man.
Hey, man, I really appreciate it. Super excited to hang out with Freedman today. And we'll see. We'll see. I think Freedman's pretty good at projections. And just so you guys know, when did we sit down, Freedman? Like in April when we first went through our projections together. Freedman and I had barbecue and beer, Ian, and we talked projections for like 6 hours. So, we'll see how this goes. We didn't fight at that point.
Not yet. But hey, maybe by the end of the show, you guys will be driving to meet up. Barbecue beer. You must have lost my invite in the mail, Freeman. It's all good.
Dwain was in charge of sending the invites. There wasn't any fighting. There was some hooting and hollering. That happens in Texas, but no screaming and hollering.
Fine, not yet anyway. Again, guys, we're talking Isiah Pacheco, workhorse or a trap. What to do is CMC, the Chargers backfield, Juwan Jennings versus Ricky Pearsall, all that and much, much more. First out, we do have a bit of a situation to talk about. It's Justin Fields. Time for our DraftKings opening lines. It might be July 24th. It might be a random Thursday of training camp, but that did not stop the fantasy football world from going into a complete frenzy this morning as Justin Fields was first, basically, allegedly, reportedly carted off the field. Yes, he did limp in the sideline first. Yes, it makes sense to cart every player off the field because how far away are their locker rooms in the first place? But that did not stop national insiders who weren't even at the scene of the crime from inserting themselves into this situation. What happened? Was it an Achilles? Was it an ACL? Was it an amputation? No, it was a dislocated toe on his right foot, not even his big toe. At the end of the day, the Jets are calling Justin Fields day to day. Dwain, are you adjusting your ranks or projections one iota based on this news?
I'm not adjusting my projections, but I do have a trivia question for you, Ian. So Justin Fields in games where he's played 90% of his team's plays, how many passing yards do you think he's averaged in those games? And the average for an NFL starter over the last 3 years is 215. Okay. So where's Fields at?
Probably about where Caleb Williams is at, 180, 185.
180, 180. Okay. Yeah. So not ideal. I see you trying to take a shot at Caleb, but I'll take a bet with you though that Caleb throws for more yards than Mr. Fields per game this year. So even if I were to adjust something, it would be giving Tyrod Taylor playing time. And so that would probably mean a little bit more passing yards, less rushing yards for the Jets, because obviously we know that Fields is an elite rusher. But right now, I'm going to hold tight, not going to overreact. To your point, I haven't taken anything away from Justin Fields.
No slander to the artist known as Ty God will be tolerated on the Fantasy Life show. Last year, guys, Tyrod Taylor, he led 3 drives and he threw 3 touchdowns. So Jets are in good hands, whether they have Justin Fields or Tyrod Taylor under center. Freedman, thoughts on this situation that, again, had the world buzzing this AM?
Yeah, I haven't made any adjustments, and I will echo Dwain's sentiment. This would actually maybe be an upgrade for the Jets offense if Tyrod Taylor went in as quarterback. But as we were kind of talking about before the show, Tyrod Taylor doesn't seem to have the capability at this stage of his career to stay healthy long term. So then we would start thinking about, man, who's the third string quarterback? We had to look it up. So not doing anything with Justin Fields, but if it were a situation where Tyrod Taylor had to go in, that I think would be a net positive in the short term. And then long term, it feels like the Jets would be playing for the number 1 pick.
Dwain, I will not accept your bet about Caleb throwing for more yards than Fields, because I do believe Caleb will throw for more yards than Fields. But why can we not give this dude any slack? Because that's all we've been giving Caleb this entire offseason for operating in the same position and the same team that Fields had to do for the last 4 years.
It's pretty straightforward to me. I mean, Caleb Williams has played 1 season. Justin Fields is going into what, year 5? Like, just a way bigger sample size of him not being able to do it. Now, if Caleb does it again next year with Ben Johnston and all these weapons, then I'll be right here with you, Ian. I'll be like, okay, how are we really going to project Caleb for a big game or for a big, improvement? But number 1 pick overall, still a year ago, and we've got a smaller sample. So that's the main thing. Fields, we've got more games under his belt.
Ian, do you also want us to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ian, do you also want us to take it easy on Trey Lance or Mac Jones?
Well, look, here's the thing. We've seen good quarterbacks in San Francisco and New England. Have we ever seen a good one in Chicago since what? Jim McMahon? All due respect to Jay Cutler and Josh McCown, I guess. It's the same thing in Cleveland. At some point, we have to quit looking at the X variables and say maybe the issue is lying with the Y.
Oh, man, I'm so out on that. So we're going to just say because you have a C on the side of your helmet and you're a Bear, like you can't be a good quarterback. Like come on, Ian. I know you're just trying to spark a debate. You're trying to be a good host right now, and I'm just not going to allow you.
Hey, I would just like to think that out of the freaking 30, 40 quarterbacks that I've played in Chicago over the past 40, 50 years, maybe some of them could be good. Kevin O'Connell said it best. NFL franchises fail young QBs more than young QBs fail NFL franchises. So with that, guys, thank you. It's been our DraftKings opening lines. Baseball fans, summer is in full swing and the season is heating up. From mid-season rivalries to breakout performances, every game is packed with drama, and there is no better time to jump in than now with my partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers who bet just $5 get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Whether it's towering home runs or clutch strikeouts, you won't want to miss a moment. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up using my promo code FANTASYLIFE. The crown is yours. And stay in on the action. Use your $150 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen, making watching the game that much more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Pick 6 and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code FANTASYLIFE and bet just $5 on any wager to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code FANTASYLIFE only at DraftKings Sportsbook. First quarter time here on the Fantasy Life Show. We are talking RB projection battles. For those that want to check out our projections, we have them all live for you at Fantasy Life. But just so you know, behind the scenes, we do have my two friends here, Dwain McFarland and Matthew Freedman. They are the ones actually creating those projections in the first place. I went through, looked at both their individual projections and tried to find situations where they were off. And accordingly, we are talking about those today. So guys, we're kicking things off with Chiefs RB1, most likely, Isiah Pacheco. Dwain, you have him going for 194 rushes and 27 targets. Freedman's with you on the targets. However, he's all the way down there at 149 rushes. So Freedman, I will start with you. Certainly seems like you're a little bit more wary of guys like Kareem Hunt, Brashard Smith and company taking reps away from Pacheco on the ground.
Yeah, so big picture, I have the Chiefs as a very pass-heavy team this year. In my projections, they have the second lowest rush play rate and the third lowest carry total. So that just means fewer attempts, fewer run attempts for everyone in the offense. And then I think that Pacheco is going to get squeezed in the backfield a little bit. And some of that might be the team just wanting to try to keep him healthy for the playoffs. But look at what the team did this offseason. They kept Kareem Hunt. They signed Elijah Mitchell in free agency. They drafted Brashard Smith. Those are the things that a team does if it's a little bit uncertain about its number one running back. So I have a 45% rush share on Pacheco right now. I'm going to monitor early in the year and adjust aggressively as needed. Like, I could be very wrong on this, but right now I think this backfield is too crowded to give him more work.
Dwain, I don't like hearing that because I've drafted a lot of Pacheco this year. I would like for you to be right in this situation. Freedman's right. There are other guys there. Now, Pacheco wasn't exactly this, highly drafted guy in the first place. Obviously had the round 7 draft capital back in the day. You seem a little bit less worried about this competition.
Yeah, I mean, given the draft class that we had at running back and all that happened was Brashard Smith. Now, don't ignite on me, Brashard Smith high. We get it. Like, good passing down back. He might carve out a role, but he's a round 7 pick. Guys, typically it doesn't happen. Now, again, we're talking about Pacheco, who is a 7th round pick himself. But when I look at this, I feel like the run out was about as good as it could be, Ian. I am also like Freedman. I have the Chiefs projected for the 3rd most passing attempts in the league. So I think Freedman's right on that front. Less rushing attempts to go around, but I am giving more of them to Pacheco just because Kareem Hunt was pretty bad last year. Like, if you look at his rushing yardage over expected, like, he did some nice thing in short yardage, but not like he was really, exploding down the field and you're excited to be giving away these touches to Kareem Hunt. I will say the guy that scares me the most is Elijah Mitchell, because I think he does give you something different than what you have with Pacheco with that long speed. But Elijah Mitchell really has struggled. We've already heard about him a little bit, in some camp reports, where you got Andy Reid coming out and saying, hey, we tried this with Jarrett McKinnon. We really liked what we got. And so similar, right? These bursty kind of athletes. So maybe Elijah Mitchell eats into a little bit. But remember, Jarrett McKinnon took like 3 injuries before he finally blew up at the end of 1 year. He was just a small role player. So I really go back with Pacheco. I look at him, Ian, a young player. I'm not that worried about the competition. I think that's a good run out. And so last year, in the 2 weeks before his injury, he had an 87 utilization score. Guys, that's on a scale of 0 to 100, just really good. He scored 16 fantasy points per game, 74% of the snaps, 74% of the attempts, 63% of the routes. And again, I'm not giving him all that. I'm like Freedman. I am taking him down some from that. Like, it's just irresponsible to project that much. But if we go back to 2023 and we look at once he took over in week 15, or whenever he took over 15 games through the Super Bowl, it was really the same thing. 68% of the snaps, 74% of the attempts, 50% of the routes. So I think we've got a 2-year sample of them showing they're willing to play Pacheco. And I think the other big thing when he came back last year, the reason we didn't see more of him is he just wasn't healthy, right? And now he's had the full off season to get healthy. So I like making the bet on Pacheco. I'm going to say this is not like he's some elite talent, right? So he is the kind of profile where you could see things get muddled. It's just, in my opinion, the rest of the backfield doesn't scare me very much.
2023 in those 14 regular season games, RB 13 utilization score, RB 11 in PPR points per game. Pretty good stuff. Again, it's a situation like Rashee Rice where, we can look at the small sample in 2024 and be enticed by that. 2023, I do think, tells the even better story. So round 1, I'm going with Dwain. You got to deal with it, Freeman. I'm the projection judge. I'm the czar here in this situation. So
basically, Ian has drafted more Pacheco, so he's going with me. So congrats, Freeman, on losing.
Next up, we have Mr. Christian McCaffrey. Now, this is a different situation where I'm more in line to favor Freedman right now because I've also drafted a lot of CMC, and Freedman is more so in favor of him having the bigger workload. 224 carries, 82 targets. Dwain, 190 carries and just 67 targets for Christian McCaffrey. Explain yourself.
It's kind of funny. I felt like the Christian McCaffrey hero, like 2.5 months ago, whenever I insanely did week 1 projections for some reason that early, just to like, see what they look like. And McCaffrey came out number 1, like as you would expect him to. And I put a tweet out about that. And, and I'm not saying the tweet is the reason for this, but at that time, Ian, we were getting him in the early second round, sometimes the mid second round of fantasy drafts. Now he's a mid first round pick. He's moved up a whole round since then. And I do think part of it, as reality sets in on what it's going to look like for McCaffrey in week 1. My question really with McCaffrey is, can he stay healthy all season? And if he does stay healthy, is it really the same CMC that we've been used to seeing? And I think that's a legit question, right? And so I haven't projected for 55% of the carries. I'm probably pretty close to Freedman. Freedman, you can jump in here if I'm wrong. The difference is I've got him most likely. The difference is that I've got him projected for 13.5 games. My guess is Freedman has him higher. I'm a little concerned. In 2024, we got 4 games out of McCaffrey, really only 3. 2021, we got 7 games. 2020, we got 3 games. Now, the 2 games in between, we got 16 and 17. So I just feel like there's just enough questions for me that I don't feel comfortable projecting him at the full 15.5, which is typically what Freedman and I both give to running backs.
Freeman?
All right. I will say that when Dwain and I met up for our projections summit with barbecue and maybe a small amount of beer, I was fully at that point on Christian McCaffrey RB1 in the projections. And Dwain talked me off of it a little bit, which meant I dropped him down to like RB4 in the projections. But since then, I've tweaked, I've moved back up, and he's now my RB1 in projections. That doesn't mean I'm going to take him there, but like just look at kind of the big picture things. Christian McCaffrey is healthy right now. He's participated fully in all team activities this offseason. That is really big. Now, if at any point in this preseason we get the report of, Christian McCaffrey has tweaked something, then I will be right there lockstep with Dwain and dropping him down to 13.5, 13, 12 games. But right now, he is healthy. He still has Kyle Shanahan as the play caller. Brock Purdy is the quarterback. He still has left tackle Trent Williams, fullback Kyle Juszczyk. Both of those guys are all pros. So I think the offense is basically still intact, but the running game should really be intact. But then you look, Jordan Mason is gone. Elijah Mitchell is gone. The running game is really going to funnel through Christian McCaffrey. And then the wide receiver room is really uncertain. Debo is gone. Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall are both on PUP. Jawan Jennings wants a new contract or a trade, right? Like this offense could basically be itself, but highly funneled through Christian McCaffrey. And so I guess I'm saying if the thesis of drafting him in round 2 is he's going to stay healthy and basically look like Christian McCaffrey, then we pretty much should just be drafting him in round 1. And if we're doing that, we're basically assuming he's Christian McCaffrey and the number 1 overall running back. If not number 1, like top 3, but I think even in round 1, and it's the big caveat, if he stays healthy, and it's like kind of impossible to project running back health, and Dwayne's points about him missing so many games over the past 5 years, those points are well taken. But right now he's healthy. I'm assuming he's going to have no more of an injury risk than really any other running back going in round 1. And if that's the case, man, I think he could just absolutely smash. Another way of phrasing this is he doesn't have to be drafted like a top 3 running back, but he easily has that within his range of outcomes. So I like drafting him where he's going right now.
He pretty much does have to be drafted like a top 3 running back, though. I mean, I get it. You don't have, basically you got to take him by like pick 6. So that's the big challenge for me, like with him in drafts. I certainly am taking him some because of all the things you said. And if you look at his points per game projection, I don't know where you're at, Freedman, but I'm at 17.4 in PPR. We're probably really close because we're both a tad conservative in these things because we know sometimes people use these things to bet prop bets and things like that. But that's definitely one of my top guys on a points per game basis. And if he does stay healthy all year, like he could easily score more like 21 or 22. My question is, like, if you don't take him, do we really think it kills you given how strong the first round is this year? Like if you take Puka Nacua and you get 20 points there and you feel better about him, is it really going to be that big of a deal if Christian McCaffrey scores 21 points per game? Probably not. I think McCaffrey has to go off for like the 25 per game in the range of outcomes. But I do believe at this point, and at his age, I don't think we should be expecting like that same kind of season. Now, he is a great receiver. That definitely gives him outs. We saw Alvin Kamara on a complete piece of crap team, like putting up all these fantasy points last year because of what he can do as a receiver. So I think that's a great immediate reminder right away, guys. Just look at what Kamara did last year. And if you're listening to Freedman, especially in a PPR, like the dude was insane. He was one of the best running backs in fantasy, even though he wasn't as efficient as he used to be because he can catch the ball.
Good pull up our fantasy life ADP tool. 19.9. Okay, so Freedman's a little bit higher than Dwain. But what's interesting is, yes, if you are out there in some of these, higher stakes streets, you are going to see CMC going to closer to pick 6. But man, Yahoo, ESPN, these other places, we're still seeing the guy towards the bottom of round 1. Over at Sleeper right now, Christian McCaffrey, pick 14.5 on average. Guys, if you are somehow in round 2 of fantasy draft and you see CMC there, run, do not walk to go ahead and draft that man. But man, pick 11 over at Yahoo, Dwain. Sign me up for that 8 days of the week.
Yeah, so Yahoo, I mean, you're playing half PPR. So running backs move up even more. Even the CMC can like move up into PPR as well, obviously, because he catches the ball. But yeah, the Sleeper one and the Yahoo ones, those are much more palatable, in my opinion. Underdog, he's already moved up to the middle of the first round. And again, I'm still drafting him some because like he is like he's a freak. Like what he can do, most other running backs can't do because he's such a huge dual threat.
We'll say just personally, I think that I'd be a little bit more inclined to believe they're going to reduce his workload if they hadn't traded Jordan Mason or Deebo Samuel or let Elijah Mitchell walk out the door. Isaac Rendo, Jordan James, not saying they can't be good handcuffs, but I firmly do believe when CMC is out there, we're going to see CMC do what he does. Now,
hey, just real quick before we go, Ian, before we go on, like I don't know where Freedman has him projected as far as the percentage, of carries. But it's not like CMC. Now, last year in 3 games, he got 68%, right? Super, super small sample. But in 2023, and this adjusts for games missed, he missed 1 game. He had 58% of the carries. I've got him at 55%. The year before, he had 50% of the carries. So, I mean, it's not like they've given this guy 65, 70% of the rushing attempts. They do load him up in the pass game. I'm giving him a 70% route participation, a 73%. I don't think he's coming off the field for the most part in the passing game, but I do think there's a little bit of risk. Grendo looked pretty good. They spent a draft pick on Jordan James. My guess is those guys probably get like 30% of the rushing workload, maybe a little more.
After very careful thought and consideration, round 2 goes to Matthew Freedman. It's tied up 1-1, everybody. Good job, Freedman. Dwain, be better if you want to change the scoreboard. Next up, we're talking about the Los Angeles Chargers backfield, which, again, has a lot of uncertainty going on right now with Najee Harris may or may not, still having 2 eyes inside of his head. So have that going on. Outstanding for sure. I will say, and we talked about this, on one of the shows this week where Jim Harbaugh's comment about Najee maybe not being back for training camp. They are considering that, or at least Harbaugh was saying that under the, just consideration that their training camp technically ends August 8th. So not necessarily going to be an issue going to week 1, but at the same time, it's a non-football injury. Who knows what's going to happen? So again, this is, I think, caused maybe a little bit of the difference in projections right now. Dwain, you have Amari Hampton set for 218 carries and 50 targets. Najee Harris for 118 carries and 28 targets. Freedman, things are down a little bit more and you have things split up. So we'll get the graphics on the screen. But Freedman starting off, it seems like that you're a little bit more just wary about the impact that Najee Harris could have, assuming that he can still see with both of his eyes.
Yeah, I will say that earlier, before training camp with Najee Harris not showing up and, the possibility of all these things, I was still much more on Harris than I am now, but I've scaled it back. I flipped to where Harris is now the RB2, but sometimes first round running backs split work when there are established backs already on the roster. Think of Darren McFadden, who actually as a rookie played behind Justin Vargas, who was 1,000-yard back the year prior. Jonathan Stewart having to play behind D'Angelo Williams. Adrian Peterson having to split work with Chester Taylor when he was like clearly already the best running back on the planet. Felix Jones always playing behind Marion Barber. Najee Harris, he has the eye injury, but the dude has never had fewer than 1,200 scrimmage yards, and he's the kind of Gus Edwards-like grinding back that it just feels like Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh would probably like. And I think the presence of Harris is going to keep Hampton from fully unloading this year. So I like Hampton. I think in Dynasty, a great player, but I just don't think he's going to get the full opportunity that we would want him to get.
I've been a little bit of a Najee Harris defender this offseason, not because I've really wanted to be, but I just think sometimes we hold things against him more than others. The latest thing I've seen is, he's never had a career run of longer than 40 yards. Yeah, it'd be a lot cooler if he did, but guess what, guys? Najee Harris and Alvin Kamara have the same number of 40-plus yard runs over the last 4 years, a big fat zero. So Dwain, again, Najee Harris, maybe not the world's best running back, but best ability is availability. He's generally done a great job of that when not playing too close to fireworks. Assuming Najee is ready for week 1, you still seem very confident that this is going to be the Omarion Hampton show.
Yeah, I mean, I've got this set up. Like, I did have it originally projected at 57% of the attempts to Omarion Hampton, which was really more of probably an even split early in the year that shifts over to Omarion Hampton towards the end of the year, right? And you get a little bit less of Najee Harris. I did bump it up to 61% on this news around Harris. Like, I mean, I think there's obviously a better than 0% chance that, like, he just doesn't play. Like, we don't know for sure what's wrong with him. So I wanted to bump it up a little bit. Also, I mean, it's just people are getting super aggressive with him. So I kind of felt like measured, honestly, just moving it to 61%. I've got several slow drafts going on right now. And immediately on that move, Najee Harris jumped to the beginning of round 3 to the middle of round 3. Or not Najee Harris, but Omarion Hampton. So my thing with Hampton is he's a great prospect. Like, if you look at the rookie supermodel going back to 2017, guys that scored in his range, 91% of them went on to be top 24 running backs within their first 3 seasons, 73% within their first 3 years. So it's not like they paid Najee a ton of money. They gave him a 1-year deal. I think that the draft capital that they put into Omarion Hampton is worth a lot more than the deal that they gave to Najee. So I think eventually Omarion was going to take over the backfield anyway. But to Freedman's point, like, I was being conservative. I didn't see it as being, man, it's going to be 75% of the carries to Omarion Hampton. I never had that sort of projection in the range, but I thought it would eventually get to where it'd probably be like 60% Omarion Hampton, 35-40% to Najee and somebody else working in. So now I'm just already at 61% for Hampton. And I think the other thing you have to think about, like, projections and rankings are really two different things, but they're still associated. We're going through a lot of the same research to really do them. I did some similar research to what Freedman talked about, going back and looking at established running backs. And I ended up looking at like 23 cases, and some of the Freedman names are really good ones. What's funny, Freedman, is you mentioned Jonathan Stewart behind D'Angelo Williams. Then Jonathan Stewart returned the favor to CMC. He actually was good enough that CMC didn't get to blow up in year 1. But there were other backs that did just come in, and it didn't matter, right? That they had another guy. Now, I will say it was typically later in the season of the next year for those guys when they took over. So didn't concern me overall. It was kind of it could go either way. But a lot of times and Adrian Peterson's another great example. You actually gave that one, but by the end of that year, Adrian Peterson was going absolutely bananas, winning you your fantasy league. And that's the other thing I try to keep in mind. By the time people are really worried about having these guys on their lineups, like, what's it going to look like? So I'm leaning a little bit more into Hampton than Freedman.
Good news is, unlike those Jonathan Stewart, D'Angelo Williams backfields that had Mike Tolbert sneaking in there to vulture away their touchdowns, does seem like this will be firmly between just 2 backs in Los Angeles. So that was a close round, gentlemen. I gotta go with Freedman, though, again, Dwain. I think Najee Harris could be a thorn in the side here. It's 2-1 Freedman going into our next quarter. First, though, guys, a quick word to our friends over at Yahoo Fantasy. This episode of the Fantasy Life Show is presented in part by Yahoo Fantasy. And this year, guys, I'm Ian Hartitz, and I'm thrilled to be continuing to play on Yahoo Fantasy. And you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. I love all the customizable features at Yahoo. And just the fact that I've been in these leagues so long that I can go back and just retroactively make fun of my friends for some championship that happened 5-6 years ago. I'm basically considering Yahoo Fantasy a family member at this point. And again, being able to go into your leagues. And by the way, guys, when you do make a league on Yahoo Fantasy, change your freaking team name, all right? Get these backyard baseball, Dwayne's amazing team names out of here. Put some thought into it and go ahead and give yourself a team name. How do you expect your team to rally around you if you don't give them a great name? So all that possible at Yahoo Fantasy. And guys, guess what? 28 years of being the premier provider in all of fantasy football. And to celebrate the 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins ends on August 4th. So stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League today at yahoofantasy.com/fantasylife. Again, that's yahoofantasy.com/fantasylife. 2-1 Freedman for those keeping score at home as we get into quarter two here on the Fantasy Life Show. Time for a few more running back projection battles. Starting off with the Buccaneers, where, yes, we saw Bucky Irving work as one of the very best running backs in the NFL last year. Yes, he completely took over the backfield by the end of the season, particularly after Rachaad White lost that back-breaking fumble against the Cowboys in the fourth quarter of Week 15. Also, yes, it did take freaking 15 weeks for them to turn that backfield over to Bucky. So, Dwain, you're a little bit more bullish on Bucky having a bigger role ahead of this year, 221 carries versus 208 for Freedman. Also in favor of the targets going to Bucky, 53 versus 47. So you guys aren't super far apart, but Dwain, I guess, what gives you the confidence in believing that Bucky is going to more fully separate himself this year after it took a good, again, 3.5 months or so for that to happen last year?
Well, it took him the time we just talked about. A lot of times the rookies don't take over until the end of the year. The thing is, coming out of the bye week, they gave it to him. Then he ended up getting hurt. Then they gave it back to him after he came back. So, I mean, if you look at him, after the week 11 bye, excluding week 14 when he got hurt, Ian, 57% of the snaps, 62% of the rushing attempts. That's running back one worthy, 42% route participation. That's RB2 worthy. You did have Rachaad White staying involved. Rachaad White was still getting the long down and distance work, still getting the 2-minute offense work. I think that's all still in play for this year. I have Rachaad White projected to get some of that receiving work. However, having said that, we shouldn't always assume last year equals this year, because Bucky Irving is also a good receiver, and he could easily work in the 2-minute offense and give you just as much, maybe more, than Rachaad White out of the backfield. We make these mistakes all the time. Achane, never going to get the carries inside the 5-yard line. Oh, yeah? He did last year. James Cook, never going to get carries inside the 5-yard line. Oh, yeah? Yes, he did. I mean, we do this stuff all the time where we assume that last year means that next year is going to be the same thing. I want to get my hands on the young ascending player, and so Bucky Irving is a guy that I've drafted a ton of this season. But I'm not crazy like with my projections. I think they're honestly pretty rational for how much I like the guy, and they end up being pretty close to Freedman. But, man, just checks all the boxes, man. All the efficiency stuff as well. Explosive rush rate, 13%, 28% missed tackles force rate. Those both align with top 6 running backs going back to 2011. So Bucky's underlying data profile from a standpoint of his talent really looks like a high-end running back one. The only thing really standing in his way from a full-time role is a guy that really the Bucs don't even like. He's a guy that they talked down about last preseason, and they did eventually move on from him. So I'm just not that worried about it. He could end up losing those snaps to Rachaad White. And even then, though, I think it's fine because that's the way I have it projected. So really like Bucky Irving, and I think he actually has upside from where I have him projected.
Sean Tucker also waiting in the wings. Fun fact, Sean Tucker last year, number 1 in explosive run play rate and yards per route run, if you want to go ahead and move that sample size just small enough to include Mr. Tucker. Freedman, again, it's a situation where you guys are fairly close on this one. Again, Dwayne's just a tad more bullish. Do you feel like after Dwayne's explanation that you need to fix your projections, or are you in the right here?
Look, I will just say fully, one, I expect Dwain to win this round, so I'm not going to throw too many punches in this one. But also, I'll say, I noticed after you pointed out the discrepancies. Look, I moved my projections a little more in the direction of Dwain. So I think Dwain actually deserves to win this. But I will say, just to be the wet blanket here, for the pessimism around the Buccaneers offense. Quarterback Baker Mayfield has just run incredibly hot the past couple of seasons. He could just regress naturally. And then you have a new offensive coordinator in Josh Grizzard, who has never called plays before. This just feels like a situation where the Bucs offense in general might not run as many plays and might not be as good. They might need to lean a little bit more into the passing game. And so you put all that together, and then you have, I'm not going to say Rachaad White is really like that much of a hindrance, but he's still going to get action. And then there is Sean Tucker as well, who could steal some carries. You put all that together, and it just makes me a little less optimistic on Bucky than Dwain is. But I can certainly see the case that Dwain has made.
I mean,
Sean
you just
Tucker's
gave
so
him
good
round
that when they got to the
Freedman.
playoffs, they gave him zero work. Like, that's how good he is. He's amazing.
Jeez, straight as Sean Tucker, Dwayne. Give the man a break.
No,
He's a third-string running back.
It's not that. That's the point. We shouldn't be worried about it. Bucky, when it was in crunch time, they're trying to make the playoffs, and in their playoff game, get 70% of the snaps and 68% of the snaps, 78% of the rushing attempts, 81% of the rushing attempts. Like, dude, when it was time to have to win these games, they were going with Bucky Irving even more than the data I gave earlier. So I don't think Sean Tucker is honestly a concern. I like Sean Tucker, and he's a reason like I don't have Rachaad White very high, because I have him getting some of Rachaad White's work. But I just think that Bucky's clearly the guy here.
All right, Dwayne, you won the round, but watch that attitude. All right, man. All right, watch it. Moving on, we got the Titans backfield to go through here, guys. This one actually is a little bit of a bigger discrepancy. We actually have Dwayne having things pretty neck and neck. Tony Pollard, 182 carries, 36 targets. Tajay Spears, 160 carries, 46 targets. Meanwhile, Freedman has this going far more in favor of Tony Pollard on the ground, 205 carries versus 131. Split evenly, though, at 50 targets apiece. So you guys, again, it seems like Freedman's a little bit more under the impression that Pollard's actually going to be the primary early down back. Dwayne, you're more 50-50. One of the tougher ones to project, I will give you guys that, because, again, both these guys were dealing with various injuries throughout the year. Spears usually was having his injuries keep him out of the lineup. Pollard was just constantly on the injury report, not practicing all week before gutting it out. So, Freeman, I'll give you the first crack here. Again, you see them very evenly in the passing game, more so Pollard leading the way on the ground.
Yeah, I should say that given that I am the wet blanket, if I am bullish on a player, I should automatically win the round, because like the barrier for me to outdo Dwayne in enthusiasm for any of these players is really high. But I'm kind of enthusiastic about the Titans offense. They're going to be better this year. You have obviously quarterback Cam Ward, who's coming in. They rehauled the offensive line. Left tackle Dan Moore, right guard Kevin Zeitler. That's an upgrade there. But the wide receiver room is very suspect. So I expect a lot of the offense is going to funnel through the backfield. So a better offense in general, and an offense that benefits the running backs. And then you look at Pollard, and he has 3 straight seasons with 1,300 scrimmage yards, 250 plus carries in each of the past 2 seasons. Tajay Spears will get some work, and Dwayne will talk about that, but I think Pollard is just the better player. So I don't mind skewing towards him a little bit in this offense.
Good opening argument, Freedman. Dwayne, your response.
So the way I look at this is last year the coaching staff told us that they really wanted this to be a split, and it just never worked out that way. We had a few games where both were healthy, and it was a closer split. If you look at the big games that are pushing Tony Pollard up, Ian, I mean, it's the games where Tajay Spears, to your point, just didn't play, like the 75%, 89%, 80%, 85% snap games. Those are without Tajay Spears involved at all, much closer to that 55, 60% mark in the games where you're getting Tajay Spears back. And in some of those games, Pollard's hurt and Tajay Spears is hurt. So to your point, it honestly really tough to decipher. And if you look at the end of the year, it kind of swung back to Tajay Spears. To your point, you did still have, Pollard toughing it out in one of these games. But man, over weeks 15 and 16, and Pollard played both of those games, but to your point, was on the injury report. They decided to let Tajay Spears do his thing, 27 and 22 fantasy points. He can work out of the backfield. At this point in his career, he's probably the more explosive playmaker. At least the data says that. When you watch these two guys, I think your eyes will also tell you that. But to your point, like Pollard was playing through some injuries. So I think looking at Pollard, looking at his age, like I just lean more to this being a close split between these two guys. It's what the coaches told us that they want. Both of them actually did perform decent in the time that they were asked, to perform. So I just think if they're both healthy, they should not be going that far apart in drafts. Like I would not be surprised at all if it's 55-45, 50-50, either way. I think it's in the range of outcomes that Spears is actually the 55 and Pollard is the 45, right? So in that kind of scenario, I think we have 2 good players, unlike what I talked about with the Chiefs, where I'm just not that worried about Kareem Hunt and some of the other guys. Here, I think we actually have 2 really good running backs. So I think that we just need to give Tajay Spears more respect. He's one of my top drafted running backs. I'm 65 drafts in now, Ian. I think he's my 3rd most drafted guy. And it's not because I like him way more than Pollard. It's just because Pollard goes in round 7 or 8 and you can get Spears in 12 or 13. I think it should probably be like Pollard round 9 and Spears round 10.
Going to pull up our Fantasy Life ADP tool right now for our lovely YouTube and TV listeners, watchers, whatever you want to call yourselves. We appreciate you either way. And yeah, look, Dwain is a little bit higher on Spears here, 206 combined carries and targets, but Freedman isn't that far behind at 181. And again, I think we can all agree either way, this discrepancy is just far too much in drafts. We're talking about Pollard going pick 68 right now on Yahoo. Meanwhile, Tajay Spears pick 129. So really is a situation where Spears, he's going next to a lot of handcuffs, yet he actually might just have flex upside in his own right. So good stuff, both of you. That said, Freeman, you stuck up for yourself a little bit more. I want to reward that mindset from you. I'm going to give you this round, but very, very close call. If you guys want to call it a draw, okay, I'm not going to though. So 3-2 Freeman, guys. Let's get some wide receiver battles though. Time for quarter three here on the Fantasy Life Show. We talked through Christian McCaffrey and the San Francisco 49ers, but that said, guys, you got him going in round one, most likely. Please, for the love of God, he should be going in round one. George Kittle, round three, round four, and more sites than not. Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, though, should be the next guys up in the pecking order of Brandon Ayuk, probably starting the season on the PUP list, and they seem to be value, or I should say potential value. So Juwan Jennings for you, Dwain, 106 targets. Ricky Pearsall lagging behind there at 85. Freeman, though, you also agree, Juwan Jennings, wide receiver 1 at 95 targets, just 57 though for Ricky Pearsall. So Freeman, what is, I guess, the hesitation in giving Pearsall more of a big role ahead of 2025?
So this is kind of, it's similar to the situation we've had in the past with the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey, Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. There wasn't enough production in this offense for all of those guys to go off. And I think it's similar now where you have Kittle, who I think could get a ton of targets in this offense. You have Christian McCaffrey coming back healthy. And then don't forget that fullback Kyle Juszczyk plays quite a bit. So that means there will be a number of snaps where one of these wide receivers is just not on the field. And I think that's probably going to be Ricky Pearsall when Ayuk is back. And so that just means fewer snaps, fewer opportunities, an offense that runs pretty slow. 58.6 plays per game is what I'm projecting for the 49ers. That is the lowest mark in the league. So just fewer opportunities in general for everyone on the offense. And even though I entered draft season thinking I was going to be high on Ricky Pearsall, when I do the projections, even though I think his upside is tremendous, it's just hard to give him the work that he needs really to meet his ADP.
It's a good point about the two wide receiver sets, Dwain, because, I mean, you know, we have those images of like a guy's x-rays and you kind of have the dog in there. I mean, inside dog x-rays, it might be Juwan Jennings in there. I mean, that dude, the way he blocks, we know Kyle Shanahan loves the guy. He might have a contract extension actually coming his way here soon. We'll see if he wins that battle. Juwan Jennings versus Pearsall, Dwain, you are still firmly on Jennings' side, maybe a little bit higher on Pearsall's just otherwise opportunity, though.
Yeah, I mean, I feel less and less confident about Brandon Ayuk the more news that comes out. So let's say Ayuk is ready by week 6 or 8. If Pearsall's playing well, they're not going to rush him back. He might be playing like 40-50% route participation. And guys, there's just something weird. I'm just going to put it out there. I don't have a source or anything. There's just a weird vibe between Brandon Ayuk and Kyle Shanahan. There has been for years. Remember that third year when it was just suddenly like, oh my God, Brandon Ayuk is in the doghouse. We're like, what's happening? It might have been year 2 when that actually happened. Yeah. And then it happened kind of last year. He got lost in the shuffle of the offense. Now, some of that's because of what Freedman talked about when you have these other weapons. But that's whenever we actually had some of these other guys not playing as well. And so there's something going on there. And so with Pearsall, I just think there's this opportunity early in the year. And I think for the first half of the year, he's going to be the second wide receiver on the field in those two wide receiver sets. Juwan Jennings is obviously going to be one of them as well. We'll see. Everybody's getting hurt. Demarcus Robinson has legal issues. Jacob Cowing pulled a hamstring. I mean, it's the classic 49ers training camp already right out of the gate, everyone dropping like flies. So I think Pearsall himself obviously is on the PUP. They came out and said, look, if this was a few years ago, they would already be practicing him, but they're trying to be more cautious with the way they're handling their players. No crap, Kyle. I mean, good grief, what you guys do to some of these guys. So good to hear that. So I'm expecting Pearsall to still be okay. And I think there's honestly upside from here. I mean, I gave him 85 targets. I agree with everything Freedman said. I've only got him at a 19% targets per route run. I've got him in an 80% route participation because I see it deteriorating over the course of the year. But I think early in the year, man, he'd probably be 90% of the time he's going to be out there, and it could be for 8 to 10 games. So that alone, if he balls out, there's a chance that he's so good that it's just like when Ayuk is back, it's like, man, we don't need to rush him. We'll just let him be the third wide receiver for the rest of the year. Again, not saying that, but I kind of have to paint a range of outcomes where it's possible. And so that's why I'm a little higher on Pearsall. I will say, last year, Pearsall, if you look at it, guys, over the full sample, there's no arguing it. It's not like he was this beast target earner. He did it all in the last 2 weeks. So in the last 2 weeks, when he finally took over a starting role, he was great. He had a 22% target share. He averaged 23.8 fantasy points per game. But that is an extremely small sample size here. We're talking about a guy over the course of the season, targets per route run, which doesn't care how much you play. Were you out there? Yes. Did you get a target when you ran a route? No. It was at 14%. So it's not like, he was really putting up these huge numbers on a per route basis. So again, I get the hesitation with Pearsall, but I think just enough. And again, Kyle Shanahan is one of these guys like Sean McVay that I do believe can actually scheme more out of their wide receivers. I think there's only 3 or 4 guys in the NFL that can do that as coaches. Most of them, it's like, hey, is your talent good enough to win? But I do think with McVay, I do think with Kyle Shanahan, like you can easily tack on like 5 percentage points to your target share just because of the different things they'll do to get you the ball underneath the coverage.
A lot of good points there, but the one that stuck out was the reality that there has been this weird vibe going on between Shanahan and Ayuk over the years. And in high school, guys, my senior year, I won the superlative for most likely to say it's a conspiracy. So, Dwain, I'm going to give you the round, man. You're tugging at my heartstrings with that. I love it. So, 4-3 Freedman as we get into our next wide receiver battle. Quentin Johnston versus Trey Harris, Los Angeles Chargers. Did have Mike Williams involved in this too. No longer. Happy retirement, Big Mike, Looking at the projections right now, Ladd McConkey, of course, the clear-cut number 1 in both your guys. But Dwain has Quentin Johnston at 89 targets, Trey Harris at 84. Freedman, you're at Quentin Johnston, 95, just 64 for Trey Harris. So thoughts on Trey Harris, Freedman, and why maybe you couldn't see him earning a bigger role and what is still a fairly wide-open passing game?
So I know Quentin Johnston disappointed quite a bit as a rookie, but last year, he wasn't bad. He was number 2 on the team with a 21% target rate, actually number 1 with a 30% share of red zone and end zone targets. I think he has a shot of, I wouldn't say just replicating what he did last year, but last year he wasn't bad. He was like a fine and functional wide receiver 2 in his second season. Now, Trey Harris, he's a rookie. And we have similar target and projections for Johnston, but I'm more pessimistic on Harris. And part of that is the opportunities that could run through Harris. I think some of those will go to the backfield. And then plus, the Chargers just play slowly. I've been projected for 59.1 offensive plays per game. That is the 3rd lowest mark. So I just don't think there's enough plays in this offense for Harris to add on to what McConkey and Johnston will do in the pass game.
Dwain, Trey Harris, not someone you've been clicking very often, I'm guessing, in that wide receiver 50 range based on these projections?
I've been doing it more now. I honestly think this is a situation where it's ambiguous. I don't think we can really say. I don't think I wrote about Quentin Johnston in the breakout article. Freedman mentioned some things that were really nice about him. But again, he's had massive struggles. A lot of his plays, since everybody's going to jump on me about Xavier Worthy, come in these wide open moments. He still has the weird as hell way he catches the football. I don't understand his hand positioning. I don't understand anything about the way this man tries to catch a football. I don't know how it's not. I mean, dude, if I was this guy, I would have a jugs machine, and literally as soon as my eyes open them in the morning, a ball would be flying at my head, all day long. And it's just, there's something weird about him that I don't trust. He is a big yak player. He is a guy. So here's what I think happens. I think ultimately Trey Harris is going to win the X role. I think Ladd McConkey is the Z. I think they're going to buy at some point. Those will be your 2 starters. And I think Quentin Johnston's the guy you get on the field when you want to go to your 3 wide receiver sets and you move him around and you play him underneath. That's honestly, I know he's big. I know he's fast, but where he's at his best is you just let him body catch it on a crossing route and let him run after the catch. He is really good at breaking tackles. He's good at eluding defenders. But when you ask him to run a full route tree, it's an absolute mess. Just go watch Justin Herbert watching Quentin Johnston and how many times he triple clutches that ball. And then he's just like, I'm just going to look for Ladd McConkey. Then you watch him and Ladd McConkey and it's like magic. So I just have worries that Quentin Johnston has flaws in his game. even though he does have that playmaking ability, that he's probably never going to overcome. And the best way to use him is to make him your third wide receiver and design stuff when you put him onto the field. So I think it's very ambiguous. It could go either way, but I'm slightly leaning more to Trey Harris the further we go. They did spend a second-round pick on him.
Alarm clock goes off and just a ball is pelted at QJ right as he rises and shines. All knowing Dwain is talking about the film.
You guys know,
man. You're getting come on, man. You'll get that second contract. We're rooting for you, QJ. America loves a comeback story, just like they love Dwain crawling his way back into this. It's 4-4 going into quarter four here on the Fantasy Life Show. Time for some tight end projection battles. Tyler Warren, guys, good enough to be selected inside the top 15 picks of the 2025 NFL draft. That said, not good enough to earn even 70 targets in Matthew Freedman's projections right now. Dwain, you have him for 91. So again, not necessarily someone that either of you are expecting to be, vying for the position leading targets or anything like that, but just 67, Freedman, explain yourself.
Okay, I will say I have Anthony Richardson projected for like 7 or 8 games, which is probably 7 or 8 too many if we want to maximize what the pass catchers do in this offense. But right now, I have the Colts projected for 586 dropbacks. I will probably kick that number up as the odds of Daniel Jones starting seems to improve, but I'm just expecting them to be a very run-focused team. They have a respectable 4-man rotation at wide receiver with Pittman, Downs, Pierce, and Mitchell. And then I know that the Colts drafted Warren in round 1, but they still have a bounty of annoying veterans who are going to compete for playing time. So his upside is high, but I think his median outcome right now is actually pretty modest.
Dwain, I see where Freedman's coming from, and I honestly haven't been drafting a ton of Tyler Warren. That said, every year we like to go through guys who terrify us that we haven't been drafting them more. Tyler Warren's one of them for me, man.
He's my most drafted tight end at this point. I've got him in 21% of the time. I agree with everything about Freedman as far as I have concerns about the quarterbacks. But like you've talked about, Ian, one of the least concerning areas when you have bad quarterback play is where underneath. And where really Freedman and I are different, we both actually have Richardson and Daniel Jones splitting time. That worries me. We both have the Colts. I'm guessing, Freedman, you have the Moores run heavy. So do I. But here's the thing. When I look at this tight end, group, I'm not worried about it. I think Tyler Warren takes over the starting role right away from day one. I'm projecting right under an 80% route participation. You don't take a tight end in the first round with these Jags. Like if there was it's more difficult with Colston Loveland. I think Colston Loveland's the better player, but Cole Kmet's there. Cole Kmet is actually shown to be a capable starting NFL tight end that can block, he can catch. All we have are guys that can do one or the other on the Colts. You have some guys that can just block, that can't catch anything, or you have some other guys that you can only really use on receiving downs. Tyler Warren can do it all. And man, you can manufacture the touches. This guy, you can get him involved in the screen game. All those RPOs that were going to Michael Pittman, I bet you half of those go to Tyler Warren. He's just the better player after the catch. So it's not an easy spot. It's where he goes in drafts too that I like him. But yeah, I feel pretty good about my projection on him. Again, it's not outlandish, but mainly because of the reasons that Freedman said. The difference is I have Tyler Warren playing a full-time role. Freedman doesn't. I doubt there's much different around the rest of our projections for the team. We probably have them similar in plays, probably have them very similar in pass rate, all those sort of things. So not saying that it doesn't come without risk, but man, Tyler Warren right now, you get him in that tight end 12 to 14 range. I really like it.
I have 2 alarms I set in the morning to get me up. One of them says good morning. The other one says great day to be great. I'm going to update one of those to draft more Tyler Warren. Round goes to Dwain. It's 5-4 going into the last spot, everyone. And what a better room to talk about than the Rams tight end room. We got Terrence Ferguson with the day 2 draft capital coming in. But Tyler Higbee is still that veteran who could perhaps hold on to his job. Freedman, of course, you are a bit more concerned about the presence of Higbee. You have 68 targets for him, just 27 for Terrence Ferguson. What makes you believe that the rookie is going to be taking a clear backseat here, Freedman?
First of all, I just want to say it's a conspiracy that Dwain has come back like this. Anyway, back to the actual stuff that matters. Terrence Ferguson, I'm surprised that Dwain is so high on him. Within this offense, I don't see the room for someone to eat after Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, and Devontae Adams. And then especially when Ferguson probably won't play ahead of Higbee. In fact, it's not certain that he'll even play ahead of Colby Parkinson. I mean, like, he probably will, but Parkinson could still play an annoying number of snaps. So, and then the big thing, even if I'm wrong, I don't think it matters. I don't think Ferguson is going to have enough meaningful production to be a fantasy difference maker. So why would I give him production that I just don't think is actually going to matter at all?
Dwain, thoughts?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, if you look at where Ferguson projects, he's like my tight end 38, but I've got him with a 45% route participation. This is a guy that Sean McVay handpicked in round 2, right? I mean, he's got a pretty good track record of what he wants to do with players. I've still got Tyler Higbee as the lead guy here, but they've already been talking about it in training camp, and I haven't bumped him any. I'm just saying this is a guy that's great underneath the coverage. You've got Devontae Adams now working intermediate. You've got Puka working more intermediate, doing some underneath kind of Debo stuff as well. And I think they just like Ferguson as a guy that can run after the catch, which was really his specialty whenever you look at what he did at Oregon. So if I'm actually going to make a bet on any tight end in this room, why wouldn't it be Terrence Ferguson? Because the guy that's absolutely not worth a bet at all is Tyler Higbee. Like, if Tyler Higbee played 90% of the snaps, we wouldn't even care. Right? If Terrence Ferguson suddenly does take over a larger role and it's more than what I have, he could actually be someone we like, because what if we do get a period where you don't have Puka Nacua? We do get a period, knock on wood, we don't want these things to happen, but you don't have Devontae Adams. Terrence Ferguson is the guy that I would actually be excited about picking up and saying, okay, maybe I get something out of this guy. I'm not even touching Tyler Higbee in that case. I'm not even picking him up. So just battled too many injuries at this point in his career, and he's only ever been a dump off in the flat guy. Go watch every catch Tyler Higbee's ever made. But I will give him credit in his early days, guys. He kind of had a Travis Kelce vibe after the catch. Like, he was kind of a mean run after the catch player, but he's just lost a lot of that edge when you watch him now. So they took him in round 2. So I've got Ferguson in neck and neck with Mr. Tyler Higbee.
Freedman pulling my conspiracy strings. Dwain's bringing up the film. But you know what, Dwain? You slander Sean Tucker, and you let Freedman bring up Colby Parkinson and didn't say a word about that. Round Freedman. I didn't want it to be a tie, but here we are, everyone. 5-5. Maybe we got to get a repeat going. But that's going to wrap up this edition of the Fantasy Life Show. Thank you, Freedman. Thank you, Dwain, for putting up with my shenanigans. And thank you for tuning in, everyone. So for Dwain, for Freedman, for producer Kelsey, for producer Michael, I'm Ian. Thanks again for tuning in to the Fantasy Life Show. And until next time, take care, everybody.